Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of the podcast Strikes Back. My name is George and you're listening to the weekly movie show with the boys Connor
Hello.
and Benny.
Hi there.
Folks, we got an exciting show for you today. Avengers Endgame is returning to cinemas. We're going to be talking about that. Plus, Toy Story 4's box office opening weekend. Stranger Things 3. We're going to be talking about the trailer. Plus, some questions you guys have submitted from Instagram. It's all very, very exciting. But before we get into the news, let's catch up on what everyone's been watching. And I'm going to go first because I never do that. And I've got to, once a quarter.
You deserve this, George.
Once a quarter, you got to give it to me.
That's okay. It's okay, Connor. Let's let him. It's fine.
So I didn't watch much this week other than that Netflix sci-fi one show. Only one thing I watched this week.
I feel
Only
like
one.
you built it up and then you're like, I didn't really watch much.
I Am Mother. That's what it's called, right? I Am Mother?
Yep.
Netflix sci-fi film. This girl is born and lives and grows up in this sort of locked down bunker. That's the word I'm looking for. And this robot raises her, and it's the trailer. When we reviewed it, I was a bit worried that the trailer had kind of laid out everything quite neatly and sort of knew where this movie was going. And I can say that it really doesn't, and it goes places, man. I was very impressed about how far they kind of kicked it, as it were. Like I thought I sort of knew where the film was going, and then it just kind of kept. I was like, wow, this is really keeping my intrigue. It's one of those films where it's got to rely on, it's got to have a hook or something, and the hook in this was keeping you guessing about whose allegiance was what and what the emotive of this person was. And in the end, I thought it ended up in quite a nice little ending there. I don't want to give too much away on what type of ending it was, but I thought it was very appropriate for the film that preceded it.
Yeah, apart from being just a really awesome production with an amazing practical robot costume made by Weta Studios.
That was
New
insane.
Zealand. So good.
That
Hard
looks,
to believe. It's
as
so
you
good
said,
it looks
it's CG.
CGI, which is weird.
Yeah.
But yeah, it also kind of explores a lot of really interesting avenues in the story. Every kind of complexity you kind of want it to go through, it does. And then there's some just really awesome elements of ambiguity in there as well. I really enjoyed that one too.
I was very impressed. So this is a recommendation from my end, especially those who love a smaller sci-fi that's not really built on action
or a franchise.
Yeah, it's built on ideas. So yeah, nice recommendation there. Time to offload to you, Connor. What did you watch this week, fella?
I went through the first season of Peaky Blinders. It's a show that's gotten a lot of press, but I've never really found the time or inclination to really watch it. And so I watched.
That's the Cillian Murphy one, right?
Yeah.
What's the sort of premise of that show?
Premise is that they're a razor gang in the 1920s or around then, in London, and they're kind of this up and coming gang. I've got to say that there's not much that it's particularly cheery about it. You kind of you open up into that first episode and you're like, this doesn't seem like a very happy-go-lucky TV show, and it really maintains that pretty much throughout the entire series. It's very bleak, but having said that, it's incredibly entertaining. Cillian Murphy is killer in this, and he's got a really great supporting cast right the way through. So and Sam Neill
in that.
Sam
Yes.
Neill sporting
Pigs.
like a pretty serious Irish accent as well, which I thought he did relatively well. Those are difficult accents to get down, and there's nothing more jarring than hearing someone who's not Irish do an Irish accent, because
It is a cartoon character.
exactly they're like, oh, tiddly tee, and you're like, that's not how Irish people speak.
Hey, that's some of them.
Yeah.
Hi,
Well done, Ben. Thank you. So yeah, I think he did a pretty serviceable job on that. Overall, just a really cool series, and it kind of made me really interested to.
You love your
move
faint
on to-
praise, don't you?
Sorry?
You love your faint praise. Like I love the idea of you just saying that to Sam Neill. I was like, that was pretty serviceable.
Yeah, that was serviceable. Yeah, I mean,
Neil?
in terms of
Who are you again?
That was
accent.
marginally above average.
Yeah, the accent. I mean, his performance is really cool. Like I said, everyone around Cillian Murphy, like all the cast of the show, is really spot
He's
on.
great, Cillian Murphy. My God.
Oh yeah, he really is spectacular. But it's made me really interested to kind of continue the series. And one of the things that's given me a little bit of I don't know if I'd say hope, but it does look as though that they're going to end this at season 5. So they're coming to a definite close, and it's not going to feel like one of those series that continues on into perpetuity until enough people lose interest that they just kind of finish it off type thing. This feels like they've got a plan. They're gonna kind of go
Chernobyl the fuck out of it.
Yeah, that's well, maybe not quite to that extent, but look,
no one should ever Chernobyl the fuck out of anything.
Yeah,
bad choice of words.
Ultimately, I get what the hype is about. It's a pretty good series.
Nice.
Cool.
Benji.
I breezed through the entire first season of I Think You Should Leave, a new Netflix sketch comedy show.
Yeah.
Man, it is so uncomfortable and so weird.
Very weird, isn't it? I've watched, I think, the first about 3 episodes.
Yeah. I don't know if it's for everyone. I will say...
Explain this because I'm not across this.
I Think You Should Leave. It's basically just about all extremely ridiculously awkward situations.
Sketch comedy type thing.
Generally stemming
But
from
pranks?
this
Like
main
they're
guy.
more
No,
prank-based?
scripted.
Okay.
Sketch comedy.
Sketches, yeah.
Like a prank sketch.
So like pranks.
So like
I don't
it's like-
really want to just repeat what I just said, but I will.
Are you jackassing me right now?
and got served.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. It's very easy to get through. I will say the one caveat is I never laugh more than the very first sketch when he has a job interview. Have you seen this one? He's trying to go out the door the wrong way. Fuck, it is just an amazing build-up of like ridiculous tension.
go ahead.
Whoa, no, go ahead.
I was just gonna say I found this series like really hit and miss. Like some of those sketches were hilarious,
yes,
and others were just like, please put me out.
That
of my
was
misery.
weird. Yeah, they're very random. I didn't find any too uncomfortable. I wasn't paying full attention, to be honest. But the ones that worked very well.
Yeah, it's not Bill Hader. Who is it that one of the SNL guys?
Tim something is the main guy in it.
No. There was a sketch with
Will Forte.
Will Forte. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
On the
That I
plane?
thought was absolutely hilarious.
Yeah,
But,
I
mostly because I just really
okay.
like Will Forte.
Definitely. And I also watched Keanu Reeves. I'm still on that kick. I watched Constantine from 2005.
It's come up on Netflix. hasn't it?
Almost watched that.
Yes. So now I feel confident after watching that, just the other day, saying that I think that's one of my favorite movies of all time. I love it to fucking hell. It is one of the most gorgeous comic book movies ever created. It is so standalone, and just minute to minute as it's going on, I'm like, man, this just holds up so much better than I even remember. And I was always a defender of it because I remember it came out, no one gave a shit, and I never saw it until I got it on DVD, and I was like, that was really good. Francis Lawrence, the director, I really like his stuff in a general sense, or just more his abilities than his movies necessarily, but this one in particular, my God.
I remember seeing that in the cinema in 2005 and really loving it, man.
That would have been cool.
And then it just kind of, it's sort of the closest thing I could compare it to is maybe Hellboy or Blade. It's kind of in that realm, but it had its own distinct thing. And then the final scenes with Satan and all that.
Peter Stormare.
That's out there, man.
He's my cinematic Satan. He's my favorite one.
Very, very cool representation.
Keanu is great in it as just this disgruntled kind of asshole detective. I can see why comic book fans take issue with it completely. I've never really read the Hellblazer comics, so it was never a problem for me. It was kind of my introduction, yeah. So that was not fine. I can see why people would have a problem with it, but I think the movie on its own merits is just terrific. Absolutely so watchable.
Yeah,
so gorgeous.
And that was a point in time where comic book movies, they would take a lot more liberties with the source material.
Yeah.
So I think when Marvel really came through, maybe there's examples that don't quite fit this, but when Marvel came through, it's like we're paying homage, or we're really going to respect the source material. And a lot of the times in the mid 2000s, they kind of reinvent it and bring it into a Hollywood realm.
I would say that, and again, not having read the comics, I would say that Marvel does that superficially. I think they captured Constantine pretty well. From what I've seen of him in the greater DC universe, he just doesn't look like the character at all. He's not British. He's not blonde. So I think he does a great job as Constantine.
Nice.
Yeah.
I as I said, I almost put that on. So
let me know when you do. I want to watch it again.
I'm really keen. I'm really keen to chuck that on again.
Shall we get on to the news?
Let's do it.
So many things to talk about.
Alrighty. First up, as you teased, Georgie, Avengers Endgame is returning to theaters this weekend with extra footage. From Kevin Feige here, we have a quote. This is not an extended cut, but there will be a version going into theaters with a bit of a marketing push with a few new things at the end of the movie. If you stay and watch the movie after the credits, there will be a deleted scene, a little tribute, and a few surprises. So that is happening this upcoming weekend in the States. I don't know if there's any word of this happening anywhere else.
Oh, really?
You guys seen this? Yeah, I haven't caught any.
I haven't heard anything about that happening in Australia. I think I looked up session times. I didn't see any kind of.
Yeah, it's definitely still playing in cinemas around here. I don't know if we'll get that stuff though.
So this is quite obviously a response to the fact that they are so bloody close comparatively.
Spitting distance from Avatar's all-time world record #1 box office. They're 20-something million away now. 30,
I believe.
30?
So they are currently at $2.75 billion. And Avatar is at 2.788. So they are just shy of $40 million away, which, I mean, to put it in perspective, they did that in their first day or half day or something like that. But having said that, a lot of movies don't make $40 million, period. So it's like a drop in the ocean for their total amount. But in terms of, getting there, it's actually quite a bit of money.
It's funny how it gets down to the wire, with such a vast sum of money. It just comes down to that, tens of millions, which is not, it's crazy. It's crazy.
Like in the grand total of the actual totals of these two movies, how close they are right now is ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's insane. I mean, we all thought it was a given that this would overtake Avatar after that first weekend where it hit $1 billion.
Yeah, we were like 3 billion. I think
4 billion.
Yeah, 4 billion. 5
well, I mean,
billion.
it was hard to not be that optimistic when you saw how
fast,
quickly they hit $1 billion. Like that's unheard of to make that much money that quickly.
But this was a good strategy from them, and we talked about this last week.
Yes, very fortuitous. We did talk about this last week, and we had some very strong opinions on it,
Especially me.
So, a very good source says that the actual contents of this release will be a deleted Hulk scene, a Stan Lee tribute, and a sneak peek for Spider-Man Far From Home, which I think is I think they're playing it really safe.
That's pretty piss weak.
Yeah. No, well, they're not playing it safe. That's not much to really call you back out there,
That's pretty piss weak.
I would think they would be pulling out something a little like shooting something new, because they did something for the original Avengers in 2012. The shawarma scene.
Shawarma, yeah.
After the credits.
Shawarma.
Which I don't know if that was even a marketing thing, but that was on the American release a few weeks after the rest of the world got the movie. And I think we got that eventually, and it was just like a little tidbit to kind of drag you back in there. But would you guys go see this movie again? If you had to pay, would you go see it again?
I've been sort of weighing that up in my head this week, and I'm like, it'd have to be something really good because I'm not that hungry to see Endgame.
I mean,
before it comes out on home release.
Yeah, like look, if I didn't have anything better to do, probably. As it stands, like I find it hard to fit in the movies that we have to see to review, let alone going out and rewatching some of these films. I think I watched this one twice, which was a pretty impressive feat as far as I was concerned. So yeah, like I think for me, I would want them to be giving me something a little bit more if they were going to drag me out of my, off my couch or doing something else.
It's also an intro by the Russo brothers. Is that enough?
No, because I've been sucked in by that before.
Yeah.
And I mean, through no fault of their own, but it was like just the same questions we had heard. Yeah. Anyways, no.
Yeah, I just want to quickly reference back to last week because we were talking about this. And hey, I was right.
You were wrong.
Let's just say that I was right. So
you're pretty much like
thank you.
On the money wrong.
And Kevin Feige, not an extended cut. Hey, there we go. So
if you're gonna play like real close semantics, that's a bold move because we can just go and listen to what you were saying about how they're not gonna re-release anything. They're not gonna add footage or anything like that.
Into the movie, I said. Into the movie.
Did you go back and check?
No, but have you?
No.
Yeah, exactly. Don't give that little weird little laugh.
In the spirit of what we were talking about.
Calm down, boys. That's exactly
right.
what Georgie was talking about. He was saying their brand would be to not alter the movie at all, which they haven't done. I'm surprised at. The fact that they're throwing in a deleted scene at the end of the movie. That seems so like clearly you were so right about their brand. Like they absolutely refuse to put this in the movie. They're just chucking it at the end, which makes it feel like a weird DVD extra.
Yeah, it would be really cool to have some kind of ensemble, even behind the scenes doco kind of thing. Like I would even go back for a 20-minute kind of one-off doco thing that's not going to be on the Blu-ray. I don't know, man. It needed to be something
What they're
else.
doing is they want their cake and they want to eat it too. Like they don't want to, sacrifice their whatever they want to call it, their integrity or their artistic integrity, and they're just still presenting the best version of that movie that they can. Great, good for you. But they also want that additional marketing push, and they want that you try and convince people to come back and see it. And I think that's Look, I would too if I was that close, but also break the wheel a little bit if you're going to try and get me.
Feels a little desperate.
Yeah,
from them. I know they're so close. I thought my suggestion of them just funneling money into cinemas would have been better. It would have saved face. They could have done that quietly. And also your idea, George, of them just doing a double Infinity War Endgame. I would rather go in and see that than this.
You brought up a problem with that, Ben, in that if you do like some kind of bumper feature, you're not going to get the ticket routed through to Endgame. But if you sell them as two separate tickets, you structure in a way where the box office revenue is going to go up. Man, I want to go see those too. I told you guys how awesome the IMAX session was. I'll drag you motherfuckers off to a double feature. That would be a killer experience.
When is Spider-Man coming out? What do we got? Like 3 weeks left?
Next Monday.
Do you reckon that next? Oh, right.
3 weeks left. Holy fuck!
Yeah.
It's 3 weeks until the next Monday.
Do you reckon that we'll see maybe a bump this weekend? Just with the, or for the next week, Spider-Man's coming out. People will want to know what's going on.
Very possible. Because if you remember, Endgame bumped up Captain Marvel sales for that first weekend.
I definitely think so.
So I think that what we'll see is people catching up on Endgame.
Doing a double, yeah. And there was Kevin Feige's also been coming out a lot saying, like, just really reiterating that Spider-Man Far From Home is the actual finale to the Phase 3 of the MCU. So that's very keenly tying in his interests to that movie as well.
Did you guys, just a little tangent here, did you guys see Kevin Feige basically confirming that Tom Holland will appear in Venom 3?
I'm pretty sure he said that. I don't think he confirmed it, did he?
Pretty much.
What did he say?
He basically said, don't be surprised if Spider-Man turns up in Venom 3. Not Venom 2, Venom 3.
That sounds pretty non-committal to me,
well,
though.
I'm pretty sure what kind of happens now after this, Phase 3, this Infinity Saga is done, is that Sony completely holds the reins for Spider-Man. Like, obviously, Tom Holland has his own contracts, his own career, so we don't know exactly what's there, but they're pretty much, I think Spider-Man, that series is sort of going to be moving away from the MCU at this point.
I mean, that seems like such a bold thing to do. They've got one successful movie in their universe so far.
They've got Spider-Man, which is tangentially connected to the MCU, well, intrinsically connected, they could just leverage that forever. And do not forget how successful Venom was. That movie,
but that's what I mean.
So
like
insanely
they've
well.
Got one really successful, albeit critically kind of in the middle.
Oh yeah, so you're categorizing like Spider-Man: Homecoming as a Marvel, an MCU
it's very
property.
much a Marvel movie.
But we've seen people go so much further in on so much less. Remember the Dark Universe both times? Like if they've got Venom and Spider-Man, that's I can see why they'd be confident in that.
Yeah. But so this will be the real question: who holds the contract for Tom Holland as Spider-Man?
Yeah, I don't know anything about his contract details. I don't
Oddly
feel
enough.
like I've heard any. Well, hear so many things about Chris Evans and Nick Fury, like how many movies they've got left. A lot of that talk has kind of stopped.
So
in recent
that'll be
years.
the crucial, I think, fixer. Because if Marvel owns Tom Holland, effectively, then they hold the reins. Like they kind of hold the power in that. And I think that, that'll be, I think, the defining aspect of how that works out. To be honest, I really don't want Venom to be in the MCU.
I don't. I think Kevin Feige's very much positioning it as Spider-Man's part of the Venomverse. Venom's not part of the MCU. I think he's very I got inklings there. He's really trying to set it up now to try and go.
He was always very
Spider-Man is
standoffish
not
with
like
Venom.
like Spider-Man can just be anyone really. Like they could just have someone else play Spider-Man in the Venom universe.
Oh, they totally could, but I absolutely guarantee Sony would be like, "Hey, Tom Tom Holland, here's a lot of money. Come be Spider-Man, your favorite role. And he'd be like, okay, I'm Tom Holland.
Bloody hell, that sounds good.
Are we done there?
You're done.
Excellent. Toy Story 4 has won the box office this weekend with a new franchise record debut of $118 million in the States, falling well short of initial projections. It's up to $238 million worldwide. So that is obviously a huge win for Disney Pixar. However, you may remember early projections had Toy Story looking at a $200 million opening weekend, the highest animated of all time, above Incredibles 2, 180 or so million. And that was adjusted more recently to about 150 million. And so this is like really far short of that. Yeah.
So what does that say to you guys? Is this a summer blockbuster thing? Are things drying up? Because we've seen this with Dark Phoenix, Godzilla.
Yeah.
Like it's been...
Everything has been a disappointment.
Everything
to a greater degree, except for this one.
Hellboy as well.
Since Endgame.
Well below par.
Yeah. And I think it's Endgame. I think there are maybe only so much money to go around for all these movies, and that's sucked up more than anyone ever has.
You have so many entertainment forms. You've got podcasts, you've got Netflix, you can go home.
Why would people go watch this movie when they can listen to us rabbit on about this movie?
That's
it's a
what
good
I've
point,
been
George.
saying for 2 years.
I think that what it has to do is the ones that are not performing well are all part of franchises that I would say that there's a little bit of fatigue. Like there's none of these productions were particularly smooth on any of them. None of the franchises were on the up. None of them I don't think it's particularly surprising that these have not done well. And I don't think it's because, honestly, I don't think it's because of Endgame. I think it's because, Toy Story 4, you've got the 3 that are really good. Fourth one, I think people are just not going to be as thrilled for.
You've got Dark Phoenix. Let's examine this a bit more closely, though, because I think this is an interesting case. The last one was 9 years ago and was so well received. Yeah. Just moving in as a sequel to that, that's a good place to start. Obviously, there's some nuance to that in that people like that as an end to the series. Critically, this has been one of the best reviewed movies ever. And have you guys felt in the kind of general populace that sort of they should have left it at 3 as much as we generally rabbit on with?
I tend to, yeah. Most people that I speak to are kind of surprised that they're going for a fourth one. I honestly, for me, this didn't seem as an exciting event. It didn't, from the people that I talked to, it didn't seem as though people were as excited for this as they were for the third one. I mean, again, it's not surprising that it's done well, and it obviously has. $120 million opening weekend is obviously a massive win for Pixar. Good. But I'm not surprised that it hasn't broken any records.
Yeah, I'm seeing the vast majority of people saying, hey, I'm surprised at how good Toy Story 4 was. But it wasn't like a vital film for them. Yeah. It didn't feel like we had to tell a story. The story was told.
Yeah. And would have you gone and seen it if we weren't reviewing it? I certainly wouldn't have gone.
I wouldn't have gone and seen it, man.
First week.
I wouldn't have gone to see it.
Yeah.
Well, I would have because I do that every year.
Well, yeah, but I mean, you're.
No, say it.
An amazing at time.
What about you, Benny? What are you seeing?
I don't know. I just find this really interesting. Like falling that far short of projections is pretty crazy. Most movies,
they're pretty fucking good these days, man, with all the social media analytics and all the analysis happening there.
Generally, if you hear about them being wrong, it's because it's exceeded expectations. And lately, all the ones that have fallen short by not too much, but this seems like quite a lot. I'm thinking maybe this will have a very strong extended run.
Yeah.
Based on kind of word of mouth and stuff.
Probably it's also a kids film. Drop.
Kids films by their very nature usually tend to have long runs because
school holidays and whatnot.
Well, school holidays, but also there's not as many of them in the market, so you just tend to, particularly if there's a good one or one that's popular with kids, it just kind of continues on until the next big one comes.
This has programming.
This has felt like a particularly stacked summer, hasn't it? Or blockbuster season. Like just every week there's a huge movie.
There was about a 6-8 week run there where it was just like movie, like heavy hitting movies, Yeah. And
so I think that could probably play into this quite heavily because then you've basically got 1 week to reset and kind of consume the marketing for the next film, and that's not an awful lot, and you'll start to get fatigue. So I can see how that. Like, I mean, if this was something where it was steadily, going off or like they were performing worse and worse, that would kind of make sense.
That's exactly what's been happening until this, really.
Until this one, yeah. But honestly, I think the majority of the blame lays in the fact that these were all projects that were coming off of, kind of the, they were all franchises. They were later on in the franchises. I just don't think that the fan bases wanted these things to happen as much. Again, like no one was excited for Dark Phoenix. No one was excited for the new Hellboy. No one was excited for.
Georgie was excited for Hellboy.
What was the other one that?
No, I feel like
Men in Black, Godzilla.
I don't know, man. Like if we went back to our most anticipated of the year, I'm sure we were excited about these things. Maybe in retrospect we weren't, but I do agree with you though. There is an element of
none of us were. I know for a fact none of us were excited for Dark Phoenix.
Yeah,
none of us were.
Hellboy,
Dark Phoenix was
for.
the laughing stock of the season though until we saw it.
I know from myself, I never really felt too excited about Hellboy. I found that
I was
very optimistic about that one. Yeah,
all the marketing
really
just kind of seemed odd to me. But yeah, look, I think that I think that you've done it to yourself in these movies.
I think Marvel nailed it with that Endgame release date, getting ahead of all of this stuff. Like,
get rid of them.
Had to. We've got a bit more Pixar news here. We have an announcement. 1 year from today, this was last Wednesday, Pixar Animation Studios will take you on a journey from the streets of New York City to the cosmic realms to discover the answers to life's most important questions. Disney and Pixar's Soul arrives in theaters on June 19, 2020. So already announcing a completely original feature film coming out a year from now.
So that's 2 for next year with Onward. And
Onward, we've already got the trailer for.
Soul.
It's
pretty cool.
Yeah.
It's been a while since Pixar pumped out several films in a year.
Well, they are making money.
2 non-sequels as well.
I like it.
Which is fantastic. I don't think they have any sequels or prequels or anything in the pipeline at the moment either. Which is very cool. I don't know. We don't know anything more about this film, but it sounds like it's going to be very Pixar-y.
Sounds like Inside Out.
Emotional, yeah. Sounds like someone's going to die and we're going to see the afterlife.
Yeah, it's like...
Bit of Coco, Inside Out.
Yeah, get that anthropomorphic...
Both of which I think are amazing.
Yeah.
Have you seen either?
I haven't seen Coco.
You ever seen Inside Out?
What was the other?
Inside Out?
Inside Out's one that I don't like as much as most people.
That's
which one?
Interesting.
Inside Out. The one in the girl's head.
Really?
Yeah, did you guys dig that one?
Yeah.
I loved Inside Out more than 99% of other movies.
Okay.
Yeah, that movie fucking made me cry my eyes out.
Didn't quite connect with me. And once again, I have this problem with Pixar movies where if I think about it too much, the concept unravels itself. And I'm like, what are these little entities in her mind controlling this girl? And I'm like, just don't think about it too much. Just trying to enjoy the kids' movie, all right?
The little people in your head are too active.
Yeah. Yeah, they're working against me all the time, man. The existential crisis.
All right, so... Good to see some new stuff from Pixar. Next up, next February's Kingsman prequel has been titled, wait for it, The King's Man. And we have a little description of the plot. As a collection of history's worst tyrants and criminal masterminds gather to plot a war to wipe out millions, one man must race against time to stop them.
Jesus fuck.
So this is Kingsman, the third Kingsman, the prequel, the setup. We get to find out how the Kingsman came to be, even though they pretty much told us already.
But Kingsman 3 is coming, correct?
There's going to be a Kingsman 3 as well, and I think they're working on a TV show or something as well. The Kingsman cinematic universe is coming along nicely.
Like, honestly, who is pushing this? Who actually loves Kingsman that
Matthew
much?
Vaughn. It's just Matthew Vaughn.
Yeah.
Like, Mr.
Passion
Vaughn,
project.
we need to sit down, man, because like, I'm fucking over this shit, all right?
Okay,
I've had enough talking about
you're
this.
describing the relationship with this franchise that I think certainly the three of us, and I think most people out there can agree with, is they kind of loved the first one, big surprise hit, and hated the second one.
Loved the first one.
Yeah. And then kind of retroactively hate the series because of the second one.
How good was that scene in the church? Like, that was like, this was a cool franchise, man. And then something terrible happened on that second film.
Yeah. And I find it kind of hard to describe as well, because I think the first 2 movies, they're fairly similar in so many ways. To the point of almost like, Men in Black 2, like almost a remake in a lot of ways. But something about that second one is just, apart from being the same again, is just kind of infuriating.
I don't know what it is. I don't want to know, and I don't want to watch it again, and I just kind of want to forget about it. But I just remember that opening scene where he's in the car, in the taxi, and it just seemed like they'd pumped way too much CGI in it and kind
Well,
of
it was
lost.
bad CGI. That was the thing that really weirded me out. I was like, this is just a bizarre way to go with this.
In the opening of the film as well.
Yeah. That's not what you want audiences to open up to.
So they're very profitable films. I mean, the first one made just over 400 million off a $100 million budget. Add in marketing costs, 50 to 100 million. You know, you've made 200 million there. That's a solid, you know, movie model. That's great.
Good for an IP that no one's ever really heard of.
Yep.
Yeah.
And
I
the
think that's
second
the
one as
problem.
well was good. Good return on the second one as well.
So
It's the problem. They're making money.
fair to say they poisoned the well with the second one. In that sense, I think moving to a whole different set of characters is more interesting to me than continuing on the story of Eggsy and Colin
Yeah.
Firth, who they brought back.
Is he there? Is he alive?
Yep, 100%.
Oh God.
He'll be there, but Mark Strong won't, which is good for you, I guess.
Yeah, fuck. Thank God.
Okay.
Mark's strong, man.
So on that note, some of the actors we have attached to this, Charles Dance, Daniel Bruhl, Reese Ifans, Ray Fiennes, and Matthew Good.
It's a good cast list. Like,
Also, surely they're all the villain, right? Those guys, like they've
lot
all
of
played
evil white
super
people.
villains. Yeah, I can't imagine that being like a group of good guys.
yeah.
But yeah, awesome cast. Hopefully they can put this series back on track because we all really did like that first one. If they could bring something like that back,
Yeah.
just impossible.
Again, it's
is it?
just it's such
They've got
it's-
an uphill battle.
Every
as you
time
said,
I think
poison
about
the
it.
well.
Every time I think about it, I just think about how I've watched the first one since, and I still love the first one. Like it hasn't retroactively
Cool. That's
diminished
good
it
to
for
know.
me, largely because I can it bears no consequence on it, so I don't care. But yeah, every time I think about that second one, it's just made me think like I hope they never make anything with this IP again because it was so like just unacceptably bad.
I believe
And
the word is egregious.
It was
your word of
egregious.
the month.
I am forever upset by the fact that is one of our lost episodes because we went.
I'm fine with it.
We went.
I wish
to
the movie was lost.
town on that episode, and that got corrupt. The file got corrupted, didn't it?
Yeah. The dog ate my homework.
Yeah.
That was one of the funniest movie experiences, that second one, because literally I think 7 or 8 times you and I simultaneously looked at each other like eyes
was bizarre.
wide open,
Yeah.
like, what the
It was
fuck is
like,
going on?
Are we actually like? Is this happening?
Did that
It's
just
like,
happen?
yeah. I just wanted to make sure that I wasn't being like grumpy or something. Like you're seeing this too, right?
Yeah. The
Alrighty.
Kingsman.
And finally, Blumhouse is gearing up for Halloween 2 to release in October 2020 with Jamie Lee Curtis set to return.
How cool.
Wasn't the last one a final
Yeah,
Halloween?
the final
man?
Halloween, and then here we are
and
again.
then the dollars turn up at the door. It's like,
Yeah, makes
okay, we're going for another round.
That
See-
movie did very well critically and financially.
Extremely
so,
well.
This is why
makes
you
a lot
gotta
of sense.
love a critical success, but a financial failure like 2049 because they're not gonna just milk it for everything it's worth. You're just like, oh, sweet, I've got that.
Yeah.
A Constantine
that
baby
beautiful-
standoff, just one-off thing.
Yeah.
So, have you seen this, Connor? The last one? Halloween?
This is one that I missed.
Georgie. Any
Such a
interest-
dismissive
any-
thing.
well, what do you-
Yeah, no, I get
Are you
you.
interested
Like-
in seeing this,
Yeah.
Connor? This new
Oh,
one.
yeah. It was the way that you read it. Like,
Yeah.
okay.
Peasant.
Keen for another one?
Really keen. I love that last one. I think it
Yeah.
made number 8 in my best of the year
Very
last
nice,
year.
yeah.
I really, really loved it. And
Director David Gordon Green is looking like he'll be back as well, so
Yes.
that's cool. I mostly wanted to talk about this because I find this series so fascinating. This will be the third Halloween 2,
yep.
but it's also the second Halloween 3 because Halloween, the third Halloween, was Halloween 2.
Holy
Oh
fuck.
no. No.
So, the last one, just called Halloween, the third movie just called Halloween, was actually
Right.
Halloween 2. They pretended like none of the other ones ever happened.
Yes.
So that was a Halloween 2. So this Halloween 2 is Halloween 3,
Three.
the second Halloween 3.
Jesus Christ.
But the third Halloween too.
No, make it stop. Make it stop.
Oh my God.
The true horror.
Mental arithmetic.
That's actually all that this movie is them explaining the naming conventions of everything. And it's just the entire audience being like, no!
Why?
They should just call everything Halloween. Don't give it a title. Just like work it out.
Halloween 2018, Halloween 2020.
The only thing I fear here is that what they did so well in that first one was a really nice mirror to the original 1978 version. What will they be able to do with this with what they've set up? And that's what I'm fearful of. Because like can they bring in some interesting ideas? They definitely left it off at an interesting spot with Michael Myers and a few other little tidbits that was sort of like, oh, okay, the story continues on. That's definitely a nice sequel setup, but I hope the ideation and the themes and everything's there is meaty enough to be able to do something here.
Yeah, I'd rarely try and compare Halloween 2018 to Toy Story 3, but I feel like they were both very nice kind of caps to the series.
Yeah.
Anyway, what time is it?
It's trailer time.
So we've got George's absolute favorite IP of the year. We've got Stranger Things 3.
Stranger Things.
Stranger Things 3.
Stranger Things.
There's been some marketing for this already that's come out that we've all been a bit meh on.
Before we jump into it, just midweek at some point, we all got a message from Georgie in the chat that was just like, man, fuck Stranger Things.
And I don't even think it mentioned Stranger Things. I think it was just like, fuck this shit. And we're like,
it's like
what?
a screen grab.
Yeah,
like,
we're like,
what is wrong?
What did we miss? Like, what happened with
Fucking
Stranger Things? Was there some controversy? And you were just like, nah, just fuck it. So
eloquent.
that being said, first up, Georgie, how do you like the trailer of Stranger Things 3? You've seen 1 and a bit of 2?
I really like the bit where Millie Bobby Brown is standing in the middle of the red swirly dusty thing. That was a very cool image, and there's some very nice photography in this. The problem for me with this franchise, and it's really all drawn off the intro to season 2. I really loved season 1. I burnt through that super quick, right at the time where everyone was talking about it. Season 2 comes out a year later or X amount of time later. I watched 2 episodes of that and I was like, this is really bad. And then subsequently found out that it was only intended to be one series. And you could just feel it. You could see it. They didn't have anything vital to tell. The story was redundant. And I'm kind of extrapolating that same feeling onto Stranger Things 3. There's nothing in here that I'm interested about. I don't give a fuck about these characters. It's all aesthetically driven. It's all about the production design.
But can I say that what they do well, at least in the trailer, is that it looks awesome and it sounds awesome.
Totally.
I mean, as far as trailers go, it's a really well done trailer. The problem is that I just have absolutely no buy into this.
It got me kind of invested, which is weird because I watched the first season and 4 or 5 episodes of the second and just never went back. I was not that hot on the first season. I thought it was just good. But watching this, I'm like, fuck, maybe I'll tune in again, like just skip the second season and see what I can see. Because I thought it was a really cool trailer.
I thought it was very well put together. I will say though, that final scare where they're hiding behind the car and then you're hearing all these sounds and then boom, this thing comes and grabs I can't even remember what it grabbed, but that was pretty poor in terms of a scare, but it looks beautiful. I gotta say, it is absolutely stunning.
So for the fans out there, more power to you.
Yeah, good luck.
We're not them.
Yep.
Yeah, and if you are a fan, let us know. Like, tell us on the Instagram.
Do you think season 2 was a drop off?
Just kind of shout out in the air, and we might possibly hear you.
It sounds like you're trying to identify them so you can do something terrible. Let me know.
Show
so
yourself.
Just write yourselves up in a registry for your addresses.
All right, so second in our trailer time, we've got The Terror, Infamy. This is from AMC. So this, as I understand it, is this kind of like an anthology series?
So this is exactly what you were disappointed about Stranger Things not doing. We had the first season about the ship stuck in the Arctic.
You're the only one that's actually watched that out of us.
Correct.
Have you watched it, George?
No, I have not.
Okay.
So that series starred Jared Harris from Chernobyl. And that blew me away. I absolutely loved it. Amazing miniseries, amazing little story, beautiful kind of tying in real world events with just this supernatural stuff. Some really dodgy CGI towards the end of it that wasn't enough to tarnish it for me at all. And I am so happy that they're running with it and bringing it back with a completely different premise. And I think this looks so interesting. It's about Japanese internment camps in America after Pearl Harbor.
It's an interesting setting. I mean, it's something that does not get talked about a lot.
Except by George Takei. He's the only person I've ever heard talk about it because he was one of the people interned when he was a kid.
America and I believe in Canada as well. There is internment camps set up for all the Japanese citizens and non-citizens. Basically, if you were Japanese in North America at the time, you were kind of fucked. It's a bit of a blemish on North American history, who obviously paint themselves as the good guys in World War II, which comparatively they very much were. But
to hear Takei talk about it, it's really, really tough stuff.
Yeah. But so I think it's a cool setting.
Very interesting setting. And I think this looked really fascinating before it even got to the supernatural stuff, which I love as well. So this trailer I absolutely loved. I'm so keen for this.
I'm liking that amalgamation and it's carving out a niche within the real world and the supernatural. I'm liking this terror, what they're setting up. I'm going to go back and watch the first one.
Please do.
I enjoyed Chernobyl so much. Jared Harris, you gave it a good recommend. I'm keen for that. And this looks fantastic. It really does look fantastic. And as you said, kind of a piece of history that should be explored more and something that, I'd like to be educated on.
Like, I mean, I don't need them to bash me over the head with it.
Series.
But like, I just think it's a cool setting because it's not talked about very often. One other thing I will mention is that I do tend to love Japanese horror. They are very kind of nihilistic with their horror. It's not about
the folklore it all draws on is so bizarre and foreign to us.
Shape-shifting,
quite disturbing. A lot of the legends are just creepy.
They've got some properly creepy like demons and legends and all that kind of stuff. So I love the setting. I love the style. I'm actually pretty keen for this.
I hope this works out. And what a genius naming convention they've set up, because the ship that the first series was based on was called the Terror.
Yeah.
Such a good name for the series going forward.
It works out well, doesn't it? Yeah. And these seem like slow burns for series, and I kind of like that.
Was it 8 episodes, the first one?
I don't remember, 8 to 10.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah, cool.
Nice.
Finally, we've got an HBO. I didn't actually realize whether this was a series or a HBO movie.
I thought it was a series, but I could be wrong.
It's HBO. So
that was my feeling, but
let me look it up.
At any rate, it's called Cher. Really,
not the singer.
Yeah, not like CHERSHARE.
So at the beginning of every episode, guys, we convene on my couch and we watch all the trailers for the week in dead silence. And no, I'm kidding. We're always having a laugh. But Connor is reading out. Oh, what's the next trailer, Connor?
And Cher.
And I'm like, oh, it must be Cher, famed singer of songs such as Believe. Do you believe? And I've got my Apple TV and I'm like, Cher. I'm like,
honestly, I just thought you were taking the piss.
Recognition.
I'm not engaging with this. Like, if he wants to fuck about and
don't encourage him, Connor.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not playing his game. And then you kind of realize, what the fuck are you doing?
So we followed up that fun little mishap with this trailer.
Sure. Look, I think this is this is obviously quite topical, and a really kind of uncomfortable subject for a lot of people. I mean, the general premise seems to be that a woman is filmed while drunk. There is the, I guess, implication that there might be some kind of untoward sexual activity or at the very least, non-consensual filming. And basically how that can then spiral, and they look at some really interesting aspects of this. It seems like really real. Like it's weird because you're watching something that is a very real world situation that they put kind of like almost horror music to, or like suspense music to, and it's a very jarring thing to watch.
Yeah, I if there's anyone who's going to bring, on the general premise and where this is going in the subject matter, I would generally have confidence in HBO to bring something with sophistication, nuance, and depth. This is a subject matter that needs to be tackled with, it needs to be real, and it needs to be well thought out, because you could very, very easily trigger a lot of people with this.
Well, I mean, the weird part for me is that you say that you trust HBO to do it with sophistication, but they've been criticized for their depiction of like rape and all that kind of stuff through their Game of Thrones stuff.
Very fair, fair. I guess I'm more
fair
for
or otherwise.
Chernobyl seemed like a very, and it seems like it was very historically accurate and unbiased, and that's what you'd want to see in something like this.
And this seems like it's tackling that head on. This almost feels like even in some part a response to all of that Game of Thrones stuff.
Look, I think it's a really cool thing to do in terms of like just taking something that's a really uncomfortable situation for a lot of people to talk about and putting it forward in a medium that's going to make people think. Again, good, bad, or indifferent. Like I think it's an interesting way to go.
Benny?
That's it.
Nice. Well, that's trailer time this week. A bit of a thin one. So we've got some questions for the week. And these all come from Instagram, guys. So every so often I'm posting on Instagram stories to submit your questions, Sundays, Mondays. So definitely give us a follow there. It's a really great way for us to interact. So hit us up. We've got 4 questions here. First one from Cozy Cam, 2 M's. Thank you so much. If you could live in any movie world, what would it be? Now, my good friend in high school, Kit, hey Kit, if you're listening, we used to like year 8, we were kind of like these washed up metal kids that didn't fit in with anyone. Everyone was into like top 40 or EDM. We were just like the outcasts, and we would dream, like we would say to each other all the time, like, man, if we lived in Star Wars world, like in the Star Wars universe, things would be sweet. Like we'd be A-okay, and we just had this like escapism. It was very, it's hard to kind of describe, but yeah, I guess Star Wars, man. Star Wars, let's get in there. Yeah. Send me.
Makes sense.
So I'll go next. Because I want to mention for anyone that has not seen the Cracked series that now has suddenly escaped my brain. Do you know what I'm talking about when they sit around at a table?
No.
It's produced by Crack. Go onto YouTube. It's one of their
After Hours.
After Hours. Thank you.
Love After Hours.
Yeah. While it was still around. So yeah, Cracked After Hours. They tackle on these kinds of questions all the time, and they did one about what movie universe would be the best to live in, and they always they're fucking terrible people. They find like little semantics or things, and so one of the things that they've mentioned is, for example, if you lived in the Star Wars universe, people would want to do that because, like, I want to be a Jedi, I want to do all that kind of stuff. If you lived in that universe, chances are you're not going to be a Jedi. So you have to think about what universe you'd want to live in.
Unless you have a high midi-chlorian count.
What universe you'd want to live in as a thing. Anyways, check that out because I think
funny
it's
you
really
brought
funny.
it up because that was definitely in the back of my mind, not that specifically, but all those reasons why a lot of popular answers would be technically bad ideas. I must have been thinking of that.
Be some washed up hobo on Tatooine or something.
I mean, because so many of these universes are set in like fascistic regimes and stuff, like things wouldn't be going well.
You'd be like really unfortunate. So I was trying to have a think about this. This is really weird. One of the things that jumped out at me was the movie Jumper. And again, this relies on the fact that you happen to be one of the lucky people in this that the movie's about. But I always thought teleportation would be such a cool power to have in a world where no other kind of superpowers exist. So I'm not talking about like Marvel's X-Men or something like that, where that is one of many superpowers. Like in a universe where you happen to have teleportation and
where there is order.
and everything else is the same. It's just the world as we know it. I don't know. As a kid, again, I always thought that would be really cool.
I haven't thought about that movie since like 2008. Man.
I have a weird love for that film. Love might be a bit
Hong
strong.
Kong.
No?
Oh, no. I'm thinking of, what am I thinking of? The Chris Evans one.
Pusher?
You think Jumper? You're thinking of
Hayden Christensen.
Hayden Christensen. Yeah. Samuel L. Jackson. He looks dope in that movie.
He does.
Yeah,
he doesn't have like the white hair.
Yeah, he looks really,
it's really cool.
I can't believe you've both picked Hayden Christensen-led properties. That's a short list.
It's all the pressure on you.
I picked Shattered Glass.
Yeah. But I was trying to think of a universe where like the grand majority of like whoever I was, I'd be pretty good, but I couldn't come up with it quick enough. Maybe you could think of this, Ben.
Yeah, I was thinking of a few things. The first thing that jumped to mind before I reread the question was Doctor Who, just because I think that is an intrinsically optimistic universe.
But it's
Do you reckon you'd be a Dalek?
Yes, I'd be a Dalek.
Hell yeah.
But even they can be friends sometimes. But then I guess I had to settle with something that's extremely obvious, but the MCU, because it is our world, but superheroes exist. And I, as a lifelong comic book and movie fan, the idea of superheroes being real, that's too good to pass up. I think
you just
the way
have
they
to
already
not live in one of those cities that gets blown up
every couple of years.
Yeah.
But the collateral damage would be terrible. But I don't know, just the way people look up to these heroes in the real world. Imagine if they actually existed. I think that would be something beautiful.
Oh, they kind of look up with hope and all that. Yeah. So you want
not
the
to
DCU, not the
not to mention the ridiculous technological possibilities of the MCU that are never explored by the movies, maybe a little bit by the TV shows. The technology they have in that universe is insane, and they never go into it. Like, they would have cured every disease known to man by this point.
Easily, yeah.
It would have to be this kind of sci-fi utopia, except for all the supervillains. But and also normal people can be superheroes. Maybe I would be a Hawkeye.
Yeah. I think that would be, you'd be closer in like the X-Men universe, because you still get the technology, but
I wouldn't
you
want to
don't
risk
seem
that.
to have that.
Wouldn't want to risk it, because you could have one of those shitty powers where you're just ugly and spiky.
That's a good point.
And I don't want to be ugly and spiky.
We'll leave that for Sonic. Very cool. I'm surprised you didn't go for Lord of the Rings, Connor.
I thought you were going to pick that, and that's when I was going to pick holes in it the way you brought up.
Well, yeah, exactly.
It'd be terrible.
Like, yeah, it'd
be like living in the Dark Ages.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you want to be some peasant in Rohan or something?
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
No,
What do
I
they
would
do
not.
all day?
Again, like,
wallow in mud,
Eat
and
grapes and
eat grains, and
even then, like, even if you're one of the main characters, most of them die or have fairly miserable lives. And like, yeah, look, I that is not, if I was personally going to live in a universe, probably not that one.
Thanks for that question, man. Next question from Nick22 James. What's your most hated critically acclaimed film? I've got one. It's very topical. Toy Story 4, man.
I knew you were going to say
Toy
that.
Story
Yeah.
4. Every day I'm hating that movie more and
Wow.
more for no reason other than, maybe I hate myself.
That's probably it, yeah.
Yeah, it's...
Hang on, I hate myself and I don't hate Toy Story 4.
Hang on a second, you phony! Yeah, so I'm just going to go with that one because I can't think of anything
check out our
else.
review if you want to hear why. If you want to hear a man just on the edge.
Yeah, if you want to hear a guy with very, very unformed opinions ranting, go check out our Toy Story 4 review.
You make valid points.
No, I don't think I did. I actually think that's one of my worst reviews.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now I want to go back and listen to it. I will go next if Connor's still looking about.
Yeah, no, I've got one, but you go ahead.
Wow. All right. May I? Sorry. I'm going to have to bring up one I brought up a few weeks ago, which is Gladiator. Russell Crowe won 5 Academy Awards, which I just had to look up because I was like, I feel like it won some Academy Awards, and I never dug that movie. I don't hate it because I'm just a bit of a sheep, and I like all the movies that critics like. So that's kind of the only one I can think of really disagreeing with people on.
Yeah, that's one I still have never seen.
Crazy.
Man. And a lot of people sort of say, you have a movie podcast? Like that's like, I feel like a lot of people who are not into movies think that's a really great movie. And that's kind of like one that everyone's seen. So when I say I haven't seen that one, everyone's like, oh, fuck. The fuck's wrong with you? Yeah. That's exactly how they sound.
For mine, I'm going to, hate might be a bit of a strong word, but I am not nearly as frothing on 2001: A Space Odyssey as everyone else. That might have to do with my early viewings of that, which I was just so wildly unimpressed. I think one of the failings is that I've never seen it in the cinema. I think that's probably... I'd probably appreciate it a little bit more if I got to see it.
Only way to watch that movie. That's one of my favorite movies of all time, and I would say do not even bother if you can't see it in a cinema.
Well, and that's the thing. I remember watching it and thinking, like, this is just such a pile of wank. It's just like,
when's the story gonna happen?
well, that kind of thing. And
Interstellar's way better than this.
Oh, that was another one of the ones I wanted to say.
Yeah,
actually,
yeah,
I think
yeah.
that was pretty well received, wasn't it?
Yeah, very
Fuck that
well
movie.
received.
Yeah, but yeah. So I have never really let go of that kind of deep-seated disappointment or hate with that film.
I
think it's largely to do with everyone thinks it's just so great. I'm like,
Us three used to get in some serious debates about that. And
I
you're
think-
like, fuck 2001. I'm like, fuck you.
You'll find a lot of support for that because it definitely qualifies as a very critically well-received movie nowadays, especially.
Yeah.
But a lot of general audiences just don't get that movie at all.
Yeah. I also saw just by the way, I was going through the top 100 movies on Rotten Tomatoes, and just at the end of the list here is the 2016 film The Witch.
Ooh.
There
Which,
you go.
again, I will give it as a caveat. I hated that movie because I let myself get suckered in by the marketing, which really did it as this kind of horror film. It's the scariest thing ever type thing. I think that one of the quotes was that Shyamalan thought that this was the scariest film he's ever seen. So I went in with it with a very kind of specific idea of what I was going to get, and came out being like, art housey crap, mother.
Yeah, I just said this to you the other day, Connor. If you can't find any virtue in that film beyond how scary it is or isn't to you, then you're a lost cause.
I've missed the point. And to be fair, I think I was just, when I was watching, I was so disappointed by the fact that
expectations are everything going into a movie.
Yeah.
Next up, Elliot Doe. Thanks for messaging us the other day, man. Had a good chat. Who should Keanu Reeves play in the MCU?
Mm-hmm.
So he's been his name has been put forward for a couple of different characters, I think, including Adam Warlock.
Yeah, the whole internet is so enamored with him right now that I think someone actually confronted Feige about it, who was saying, "Yeah, we talked to him about every movie. We really want to work with him." So a lot of people are kind of talking about this.
Of course, you'd say that though.
Of course, because he's the flavor of the month. I was, funnily enough, on this train years ago. I was practically lobbying for him to get cast as Doctor Strange because I thought that would be so much fun. And I think I was really disappointed when Benedict got cast because it just seemed so obvious. And they generally hadn't done that up to that point. The MCU been so, kind of exactly what everyone wanted. So I was a little disappointed by that. If I had to give a different answer to that, and I'm not really going to because that's what I actually want, but I think he would be a really interesting Silver Surfer if this dude ever shows up. And he would have a cool connection with Lawrence Fishburne, having played him last time.
Oh, yeah. What? Why did you remind me of that?
Doug Jones portrayed him, then he was CGI'd and voiced by Lawrence Fishburne, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this is a tough one because my knowledge of MCU and Marvel characters is not very deep, but...
Just say Wolverine.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much... I was going to say, maybe Beast even. I would like to see him in the X-Men.
That'd be cool.
He's got that X-Men vibe.
Cyclops.
I don't really know what that is, but I'm like, Keanu, X-Men, that seems to fit well.
Could have the stoicism for the leadership role of Cyclops or something.
What even... is this too out there, Magneto? Could he do that?
That is a very different take, and I'm kind of into that idea.
I don't know, man.
John Wick
is
as Magneto.
Saying names, Jean Grey. What do you reckon?
I'm really pissed off because that's who I was thinking of was Magneto.
Oh, really?
I'm kind of disappointed that you would check that out there as a kind of casual suggestion. Take all the oomph out of mine.
You bastard.
You, I guess. Because I was thinking, I think it'd be cool because he's got such a good boy kind of. Everyone just loves Keanu Reeves. I'd really like to see him as a villain, and I've
especially when his body count's 200. Such a good boy.
And but he's not the bad guy in John Wick,
never
is he?
the bad guy.
Yeah,
I think that's the third movie's debatable.
He's still lovable.
Yeah.
Look, and I think he'd be really good. I've seen him play the villain, and he's definitely good at it. He played it in his directorial debut, which is Man of Tai Chi. So yeah, he's definitely got the ability to do it.
Nice. Alrighty. Actually, just one more thing. Eternals. He would do well in the Eternals, I feel.
Yeah, I'm actually wouldn't be surprised at all if he does get cast in that. I think they've already been talking about that.
I think it's that is one of the kind of forerunners for.
I've seen that in Silver Surfer kicking around.
Okay.
Final one here from Catherine A. Williams. Fave way to watch a movie is what's your fave way to watch a movie, i.e. at home or the cinema, solo or with a group, choc top or no choc top? So what do you guys prefer? Do you guys prefer, let's do this in 3 stages, home or cinema?
So it's a pretty steady answer for all of them, which is it depends on the movie.
Oh,
because, and I know that's such a
to be that guy.
I have to be that guy, but we just talked about why that's critical, because 2001: Space Odyssey I thought was fucking rubbish when I watched it, at home. But based on everything that I know, it's amazing in the cinema. Just like that, I think that things like Mad Max or like the Fury Road, Blade Runner 2049, basically anything from Villeneuve, like those films are so powerful in the cinema that they are. That's why I think we will still have cinemas going into the future, because they just don't have the same impact when you're at home. When it comes to things like, smaller movies, I tend to enjoy sitting at home. Like I really enjoy watching like Netflix and things like that. The only other film that I think is type of film that is really worth going to the cinema for is comedies, because you can laugh with the audience. But yeah, it really depends on the kind of film.
Yeah, good little caveat at the end there. I hadn't thought of that, because my just overall answer is cinema for absolutely everything. I wish I could watch everything in the cinema. I love going to watch old movies I've seen before at the cinema, old movies I haven't seen before, new movies. And what I really love is working at a cinema. I know exactly when to go so that I get the whole place to myself pretty much. I love going with you guys. Not so much the general public. I can find that pretty frustrating sometimes.
Fuck the general public.
But having a whole cinema, just me and my mates, that's my temple.
Again, unless it's comedy, is what I find.
Yeah, if it's a comedy, I do like more of a packed house. Even with some of these big Marvel movies and stuff, it is fun. But I guess my thing is I like to see really good movies a couple times.
Yeah.
In the cinema, maybe one with a big audience, one without.
Yeah. Yeah, I got to say, there's something that I really enjoy about going to the cinema, turning my phone off and just kind of immersing myself in a story. Like I work in digital marketing, so I'm always on Facebook. I'm always looking at all this techie shit. I'm always staring at a screen, and it's like, yes, I'm staring at an even bigger screen. So fuck, that wasn't the best point to bring up.
Just one screen.
But just one screen. And it's nice to just like turn off. And even when I'm on the couch, my phone's going, the cat's walking around.
I'm the same. I can't do it at home.
Like I like being at home, but it's typically a movie that is a smaller movie, as you said, Connor. But if I really want to immerse myself in the movie and I really want to get the full impact, I have to see it in the cinema.
I'll give another little thing. I actually quite enjoy watching movies on planes, because you do get that effect of like no one can reach you. You're not getting distracted. And I've got a pretty good setup. Like if I've got my laptop, it's one of the new MacBooks, so it's got pretty decent screen size and resolution. I'll put on my good earphones, so I've got the noise. And I actually watched Arrival with that setup, and I fucking loved that movie.
Nice.
I'd have probably had a better time watching it like that than I would have if I was on the couch at home. Maybe.
You got noise cancelling?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
I went all out, because I did fuck, trying to listen to shit on planes and that.
I hate flying, and I will say I don't have that set up, but I will only watch movies that I'm prepared to hate, because I very well may. In that situation.
If it's on like the thing in front of me with shitty headphones, then fuck that noise. But
so solo with a group, I really like going to the movies by myself. I got to say, there's been the first movie I ever did that for was Inglourious Bastards, and that was one of the first movies I saw twice in the cinema. And I'm like, I'm going to the cinema by myself, and I'm gonna fucking just enjoy this. And I got such a kick out of that. Generally speaking, I don't do that, but I really enjoy it. But most of the time, going to see with a group and then have a chat about it afterwards. I mean, part of the reason why we started this whole podcast is because we all love shitting on about movies. I want to hear what everyone else's opinion was, and I want to talk about it.
The other reason was to get paid.
How's that going for you so far?
Yeah. Getting there.
Daddy needs some new shoes.
I've sort of already. I do have a massive hole in my shoe right now. I've sort of already addressed that one, but I go to most movies alone. Some people won't do that at all. I do really enjoy that, but like I said, going with friends is also really
so
good.
You definitely are conscious about how everyone else around you.
Yes,
is feeling.
It very much shapes like what I guess my favorite thing to do.
So
which
I'm a very
I do
vocal person when I watch.
The other day, you were doing like this in the wind.
I do
and
not
I was like,
sit
what?
still.
I was like, what the fuck?
You've done this the last couple of times. You
What
had a
the
water bottle that you've
fuck?
been tapping
Yeah,
in the movie
no, see,
very
that's the thing.
audibly.
No one. I should not be allowed to hold or be near anything
Or anyone.
or anyone
You
while I
put
watch a
your
movie.
phone up
'Cause
on the
I'm-
ledge on the balcony, and I was just like, that's gonna fall. Like, I'm such
It
a
wasn't
worst
gonna
case
fall.
scenario
It was
person.
never gonna fall.
I don't know. I just freak out.
But
man.
honestly, I tap, I move, I go back and forward.
You pull out your phone in the middle of the cinema and start texting people. I'm like, what the fuck? I'm not with that
I'm the
guy.
Sorry,
worst
we're not
person.
trying to get hate mail sent to you right
Yeah,
now.
yeah.
But yes, he does take his phone out sometimes.
I'm not with him.
Security.
I'd say he's not egregious. Like, it's only annoying for the person like right next to me. I'm not like
Which is us.
which is you always. Yeah, exactly. But ironically, I love going to the cinema, or I love watching films with people, particularly if I've seen it. Like, I love introducing people to cool films. Like, one of my favorite things that I got to do was when me and my girlfriend started dating. She had never seen Lord of the Rings. Oh, I've never been so goddamn happy in my life, because I was like, I get to show her Lord of the Rings, and having her be like, oh yeah, I really enjoyed that.
Your
Just did it for
dating
me.
profile at the time was must not have seen Lord of the Rings.
Yeah,
That
exactly.
was the only thing.
that
in
was
there.
it. I have one criteria, and I hit the mother load. She has not seen a damn thing. Like, hadn't seen Star Wars, hadn't seen fucking Lord of the Rings.
Very fun.
You're like the Middle Earth journeyman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Come with me.
So I'm the same kind. I like to watch a movie on my own and then with you guys. Even
Okay.
I like to
Yeah.
experience through you the second
Yeah,
time. I
yeah,
remember
yeah.
watching The Last Jedi. Your
Yes.
first time, I'd seen it
It's
before
like a
already.
child.
And it was amazing. I spent more time watching you than the movie.
Yeah, yeah.
It was
Oh,
beautiful.
I remember
yeah.
watching. We watched because you had just seen Justice. You'd seen Justice League like a week before.
Weeks.
Yeah, and I remember sitting down,
Yeah, what
and that
happened with
first
that?
scene, I just I
yeah,
looked over you.
yeah.
You were already looking at me, just like soaking in, the
Yeah.
Smiling like
display. Like,
you see it?
right?
You see
the
it?
movie starts.
You get it.
Because I'd seen that movie weeks before release. I had no one to talk to
right,
about
yeah.
Justice League.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and I remember you came on the podcast. I was like, "What have we been watching?" He said Justice League. He didn't reveal anything, but it
You
was
did a
like
good
just
job of-
sorrow.
That was a poker face and a half. Because
What's that channel we like, the CG guys that
Corridor
yeah, they
crew.
did a new one and they talk about
Yeah.
the face and
I mean,
stuff.
they make some very valid points on that. But
They
just,
certainly
fuck,
do.
Man, that was terrible.
final part of this question: choc top or no choc top? And for those in our cohorts and fan base that are outside of Australia, a choc top is this weird ice cream that everyone seems to buy.
It's just
And
ice
you
cream
just
with
buy
chocolate
it.
coating. That's all it is.
It's really weird.
The other countries
Very
have
standard, but
ice cream with chocolate coating. I don't want to like blow your mind or anything, but
madness.
It's not
It's called a
invent-
Magnum in
Yeah.
other countries.
we're a pioneering country, truly.
Yeah. I always have food when I eat.
You
like, when I
boys
watch.
love your
Yeah.
snacks.
Love my
You,
snacks.
your grain waves. And
I've got it
bottle of
down
water.
pat. But one of the things that Ben, that you mentioned to me a while back was that you don't go in with food,
Mm.
and I've tried that a couple of times. I'm like, fuck, this actually, for me, it's a lot better because I'm not distracted. I'm not whacking bottles and tapping on them or anything like that.
I never eat in cinemas.
I think it's better.
You never eat.
I never eat.
I've only
No,
seen you
Just
do-
waste away.
At home, if I'm chucking on some YouTube shows or whatever, I love to have food with me. That's how I have to eat. But in the movies, like I said, that's my temple. I am 100%
Cool.
on that screen. My favorite point in a movie is 30 minutes in when everyone's finished their food. And
Nice.
there's no more
Yeah,
rappers
yeah,
and shit
yeah.
going on. I'm like, yes, now we can all sit here and concentrate.
Yeah. Yeah, I've
You
got to
are
get that
honestly-
vanilla choc top, man.
You in a cinema, you're like this librarian.
Absolutely,
You
yeah.
kind of look over
I
there.
will
kind of
stick,
the
I
hook
slap
nose.
people.
Yeah, and just kind of like you get the most nasty look from
We
you.
need to get you a branded one. Podcast Strike Back
Yes,
branded
yeah.
one.
An actual
Leaves a little
brand.
imprint.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That'll serve you. Well, folks, there we have it. Thank you so much for those questions, guys. Really good
Sorry, Georgie.
stuff.
Can I just give a shout out to Emiliano I met the other day? Listener, thanks for listening.
Hell yeah. Emiliano, everyone, like seriously, the analytics are looking really good, guys. So if you have a friend that might be into this podcast, do let them know. We're really trying to grow this thing. And hey, this Thursday, we've got the best and worst coming up of the first 6 months of
Good Lord,
2019.
is that this Thursday?
Oh boy.
Oh my God.
Are your list ready?
What have
I'm
I
worried
done?
about your Fridays.
Yeah.
5 of the best, 5 of the worst, and a couple cans of beer. It's going to be good. And we'll be
George, you
back.
promised tequila shots, didn't you?
Let's do it. As long as it's good tequila, man.
What? There's no such thing.
There is. Come on. Let's get what's that brand? Patron or someone 808 or something. Whatever. It's gonna be great. We'll be back next week for the weekly movie show, and it's gonna be fun. Connor.
Bye.
Bye, Benny.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.